As a private chef, it's really important that you set clear expectations for your client of what you expect of them and what they can expect of you. If you don't do that, there's a really good chance the client's going to come back to you after an event and say, look, this isn't what I expected. I thought you were going to do this and that. So in my business, I've been a private chef for over 8 years, and I have kind of 3 sections laid out where the client sees exactly what they can expect of me and exactly what I expect of them. And I really suggest you do something like this in your business just to prevent the client coming back to you later and saying, well, I thought you were going to do this, or this is how I thought this was going to go. Some chefs prefer written contracts. I don't. This gives me enough cover. It lays out exactly how the process will go. They get an email that'll explain exactly what they ordered and everything. So this is how I prefer to do it. You can do it however you want, but watch through this video. You might gain some insight into how you can protect yourself and your business a little bit more. My name is Benjamin Kelly. I've been a private chef, like I said, for over 8 years, doing 6 figures in revenue annually. And now I run chef business training, where I teach other private chefs and train other private chefs in how to run the back end of their business to help be more efficient, get more clients, and make more money. So let's get into it. So this is the How It Works page on my website. This is where I kind of direct clients when they have questions. I direct almost every client here because it really lays everything out. And if you don't have a section like this on your website, I highly recommend you do. So first we have the food. So all food is prepared fresh in your kitchen. This is how I work. I don't prepare anything off-site. Local ingredients are used when possible. This is important because if I can't find something locally, I don't want the client to be like, well, is this local? And me to say no. I can say, well, I said like when possible. I couldn't find a local substitute or a local version, so I substituted with something not local. On occasion, I may not be able to source an ingredient that is listed on your selected menu. In this case, I will substitute the listed ingredient with one as similar as possible. So essentially that's saying, if there's a menu item listed on your selected menu choice, and I can't get it, I'll sub it for something different. Now that doesn't mean that if they order beef tenderloin, I'm going to give them lamb. What it means is that if there's, asparagus on the side of their steak, I might substitute broccolini instead. That's really what it means. I'm not going to substitute like their main protein. While I'm preparing the food, you're welcome to watch and ask questions. I just lay that out there so the client knows that they're more than welcome to interact as much as they want. And just a note about that, I always kind of leave it up to the client how much or how little they want to interact with me. Some clients want to be super interactive. Some want me to just blend into the background. I don't take the initiative on that. I really just kind of try and match the energy of the client. Ordering. To meet the high standards that I set for your dinner, I typically ask that all guests receive the same meal. This, again, is how I run my business. You can run yours how you like. For me, this works best. I generally work alone. And I generally only have 2 to 3 hours to prepare everything, so preparing multiple meals, it just takes too much time. Plus, usually I'm just working on a home range, so there's not enough space to cook multiple meals either. Of course, there's no issue altering menus to meet dietary or allergy restrictions when necessary. I'm not going to be a jerk about that. I don't mind adjusting for those. If one or more guests prefer an alternate protein on the main course, a substitution can be made as long as the side dishes remain the same. It's not that big a deal to cook a steak and a salmon. It's a big deal to make 2 full separate meals. So I do give the client the option, if they want, they can have a different protein as long as it's all the same sides. And I'll do a different sauce. That's all right. An additional charge may apply depending on the chosen protein. So if they all order chicken and then one person wants beef tenderloin, obviously I'm going to charge more. Custom menus are available upon request for a fee. I see so many chefs that only do custom menus, and I don't understand why. It takes so much time. There's so much back and forth with the client. It's too much effort. So I'll do it, but I charge a fee for it, and we'll get into the fee a little later on. Deposit and payment. Upon ordering, and once the time and date are set for your event, it doesn't say that, but that's what it means, you'll receive an invoice broken down into 2 payments. A 15% non-refundable deposit to confirm your booking. The remaining 85% of your invoice total is due within 72 hours of the completion of your dinner. So typically, my dinners are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so the invoice is due the following Monday. Adjustments may be made to your final invoice after your dinner to account for extra time. I've never once done that. Deposits can be paid by credit card, e-transfer, or must be paid no later than 48 hours before your booking. Failure to pay the deposit on time may lead to cancellation of your booking. Never done that either. Your final payment can be made in cash, check, e-transfer, or by credit card. So I charge a deposit just to hold the booking and confirm everything. It's non-refundable within reason. I get into this a little bit later, but if there's an emergency, like a family emergency or something, I'm not going to be a jerk about it. I give them the opportunity to rebook at a different date and apply that deposit to that event. Or if it's an emergency, I'll refund it. And I've never once been like, no, I'm not going to give you a deposit. But this protects me in the case that there is a situation where I do need to keep the deposit. Timing. The amount of time that your dinner will take depends on various factors, including the number of guests and the number of courses. Typically, a 3-course meal will take 4 hours. I've changed this to 5. I have to adjust it in here. Eating will take approximately 1 hour, 2 hours. Now I do 3 hours of preparation time and an hour of cleanup. Generally, I'll need access to your kitchen 2 to 3 hours before any food is served. In rare cases, more preparation time is needed. Again, this just kind of lays out some expectations. I need to make some adjustments, but it's basically true. Equipment. I provide everything that I need to prepare your dinner except for the kitchen. I arrive with all the food, necessary pots, pans, and equipment, including garbage disposal, dish towels, soap, etc. I do not provide linens, plates, cutlery, or glasses. I can, however, facilitate rentals through a third party if necessary. So, obviously I bring my own equipment, I bring all the food. You'd be surprised how many people wonder if I bring the food or not. Of course I bring the food. Bring all my own pots and pans and equipment, including garbage, towels, etc. I just bring everything I need because I don't know what they're going to have, and it's just easier to. I find because I'm in a different kitchen every time, it's always strange having my own equipment and everything. It just gives me that kind of sense of comfort that allows me to adapt to a new kitchen. But I don't provide linen or plates or cutlery or anything like that. I know some chefs do. That's fine if you want to. I don't. I don't want to go an extra hour and set the table. I don't want to be responsible for any of that. But if they need to, I can facilitate through a third-party rental, and I charge 20% surcharge for that. What is expected of you? This is super important. I don't see a lot of people have this. I tell the client exactly what I expect of them, and I do it multiple times, as you'll see, because I do have expectations of my clients. This has never been an issue, but I think it's really important to lay it out. So it's expected that when I arrive, your kitchen is clean and in good working order, and that the dinner table is set with cutlery and glassware. If this is not the case, it may delay the start of your dinner. In extreme cases, I reserve the right to refuse service if I deem your kitchen unsafe or unsanitary for food service. In this case, you'll not be asked to pay for your dinner. However, your deposit will not be returned. Please let me know in advance if there are any issues that I should be aware of, such as a burner on your stove that doesn't work. So this is just very basic. I want them to set the table. I don't want to do it. I charge an upsell if they want me to. This part about I reserve the right to refuse service if I deem your kitchen unsafe or unsanitary. I've never used this, but I added this because there was once I went into a kitchen and it was gross. The counters were completely cluttered. Like the kitchen was absolutely filthy, and I didn't have this clause in here. And yes, I could have still left, but I just added this clause in here because I wanted to at least point to this and be like, look, your kitchen was filthy. I have this clause, But 99.99% of the clients have the kitchen spotless when I get there and the table set. Pricing and fees. I need to make some adjustments in here as well. The final price of your booking will include the listed cost of items you've purchased. So my menus, here, I'll pull one up here really quick. My menus, I have everything laid out. Let me see. I'll just go to the spring one. So I have it set essentially like a restaurant menu where I have the menu item and the cost and an explanation, and that goes down here. So when I'm talking about pricing, it says the listed cost of the items you've purchased. So it's just, if they want a Caesar salad, it's the price of the Caesar salad times the number of guests, plus time, plus tax. So I do also charge an hourly rate of $80 for a minimum of 4 hours, but usually it's 6. Time is charged at $80 an hour for a minimum of 4 hours. So even if it's 2 people, then this is kind of why I did it, so I can do smaller bookings and still make enough money to cover it. Because if I was doing a dinner for 2 people, the menu cost might be $150, and then if they chose my cheapest items, and then I'd be making no money at all. So I put this minimum in here just to make sure that I could at least cover my costs. For example, a 3-course dinner is usually 4 hours, while a 3-course dinner with finger foods, I have to change this to 5. Dinner with finger foods before the meal is 5 to 6 hours. Tasting menus and events with no main meal are a minimum of 6 hours, and then additional fees may arise for travel. So if I travel more than an hour, I charge a fee each way. Additional fees for custom menus as well, or if additional staff is needed. Servers and sous chefs are $38 an hour. In this case, we'll agree on the amount before finalizing your booking. I don't hide anything. I want to make sure that the client is clear and has clear expectations when they get their invoice as well. Travel fees are charged when I have to travel more than an hour in each direction to get to your location. The cost of travel is $30 an hour and cover gas and expenses. All out-of-province bookings or bookings that require more than 3 hours travel in each direction will also be charged the price of accommodations. If I have to leave the province, I live in Canada, so it's a province, or if I travel 3 hours in each direction, I don't want to drive that, so I include the price of a hotel. Never been a problem. I've only used that, I think, twice, but no one's ever balked at it. And then there's a flat $75 fee for custom menu development. That's really just to cover the time to develop the menu. It doesn't cover the time, but it covers a piece of it. The fee will be applied to your invoice at the time of booking, and substitutions for allergies or preferences do not count as custom menus, nor do they incur any additional fees. I'm not a jerk about it. I think that's reasonable. The custom menu fee is not charged per person. It's just a flat fee. Prices are subject to change. This is super important because I don't want a client to come back to me and say, look, I looked at your menu a month ago, and now the prices are all different. I want the prices from a month ago. I can say, look, it says right on my website the prices are subject to change. I'm not going to give you those prices. I needed to up them because everything's going up, blah, blah, blah. So here I offer a guarantee as well. And I want you to pay attention to how this is worded. So I'm dedicated to ensuring your complete satisfaction with my services. If anything during your event isn't up to your standards, and given the opportunity, this is important, given the opportunity I can't make it right, you won't have to pay for the event and I'll refund your deposit. This is my promise to you for an exceptional dining experience. So this is kind of the key in here. Given the opportunity that I can't make it right, you won't have to pay for your event. So if during their event they don't say anything, they're like, yeah, everything was great, and then 2 days later they come back to me and they're like, we weren't happy with this. Well, that they didn't give me the opportunity to make it right. It's like, well, you should have said something that day. So I put this in here because they have to tell me at the event and give me the opportunity to fix it. If they don't, this is void. Make sense? I've only used this once, and it wasn't even the client who called it. It was me. It was like a guy's golf weekend thing, and they showed up 2 hours late to dinner, and the food was subpar. It wasn't really my fault. I was ready when it was supposed to be ready, but I ended up giving them a big discount because I wasn't happy with how the food came out. Tipping. Gratuity is never expected but always appreciated. Clients can tip if they want. They usually do, but they don't have to. And then this just kind of breaks down what an invoice will look like. I need to adjust some of these prices. Okay, so that's the first thing the client sees. Not the first thing they see, but the first kind of understanding that they'll have of how I work. So that's where I send all my clients when they have questions. Next, when I send them their deposit, they get this. So this is my full terms of service, and there's going to be some repetitive stuff in here, but it's super important. So it just says my terms of service, has my logo. Thank you for choosing Chef Ben Kelly for your private dining experience. By paying the deposit for your event, you acknowledge that you've read, understood, and agreed to the following terms of service. Important, and this is attached directly to their invoice. So booking confirmation. A non-refundable deposit is required to confirm your booking. Once they receive this, this is on the invoice asking for the deposit, so once they pay the deposit, it's confirmed. Until the deposit is received, your date is not secured. I've never given a date away out from under somebody unless I haven't heard from them in like 2 months and they haven't paid a deposit. And usually I'll check with them first. Payment of the deposit constitutes acceptance of these terms of service. So if they pay the deposit, they accept these terms. What's included? Chef Ben Kelly provides all food, ingredients, and materials required for meal preparation, all necessary cooking equipment and tools, service of each course, table clearing and kitchen cleanup, removal of all garbage generated throughout the evening, packing and refrigerating the leftover food. Now, this is an important caveat that I put in here. Please note, Chef Ben may prepare an extra serving of a dish to allow for accidents, such as dropping a plate. This is not considered part of the client's order and will not be left behind. Only food that was ordered and paid for by the client will be packaged as leftovers. If I make beef tenderloins, like sous vide beef tenderloin, I always make an extra one in case I drop a plate. I always make an extra dessert. Sometimes I leave it for the client, sometimes I don't. But if the client's like, why are you packing that food up and taking it with you? I can point out and say, look, this is right in my thing. This was not yours. This was an extra one. Just kind of covers me. And this just lays out the expectations. You, the client, are responsible for providing plates, cutlery, napkins, and glassware, ensuring the table is preset with utensils and napkins before service begins, and making the kitchen and dining area accessible, clean, and available upon arrival. So again, lays out my expectations of them. Optional add-ons. Additional services such as table settings, disposable ware, beverage stations, and more are available upon request and incur an additional charge. Like I said, I charge for table setting, for all of this. Equipment rentals, e.g. tables, chairs, dinnerware, are facilitated through a third party and are subject to availability. I'm not in control of whether the rental place has everything we need. 20% service fee will be added to any rental coordination provided by Chef Ben. So part of this is I don't like doing this. It's kind of a pain in the ass for me. So I tell the client, this is who I'm going to book everything with. I recommend you just call them if you want, because I'm going to charge you a service fee. And they always, not always, but 9 times out of 10, the client will take the initiative on that. And then 2, the rental place will just drop off and pick up the rentals as opposed to me picking them up and dropping them off. So I kind of put this in here to deter the client from asking me to do it. And if they ask me to do it, I make a little bit of money on it. All right, number 3, event flow and timing. So Chef Ben will arrive at the agreed upon time or a few minutes early to unload and begin food preparation. I always show up about 10 minutes early. Approximately 10 minutes before the food is served, Chef Ben will notify guests to be seated. In my pre-event email, I think it says 5, so I'll adjust the pre-event email. And that's just saying, like, I'm going to give you a notification. Just be like, hey, it's 10 to 6. You said you wanted to do it at 6. Dinner will be served at 6. If you plan to give a toast or a speech before dinner, please let Chef Ben know in advance so timing can be adjusted. Meals are served at their optimum temperature, and delays may impact food quality. So this is super important. Especially if you do weddings. I don't know how many times I've given the 10-minute warning. People sit down, I serve the salad, or I'm just about to serve the salad, and then they decide to do 15 or 20 minutes of speeches, and the salad's garbage by the time they eat. That's not my fault. They didn't tell me that they were doing toasts. I was ready when I said I would be ready. So I put this in here because then if the client comes back and says, well, the salad was pretty terrible, I can be like, look, I said, let me know if you're going to do speeches. You didn't let me know. No refund. Courses will be served directly by the chef and or his team, depending on the size of the event, with dishes clear between courses. Sometimes I bring my niece or nephew with me, and they'll help me out for bigger events. While you enjoy your final course, the chef will clean the kitchen, wrap leftovers, and pack up equipment. Pretty simple. Chef Ben does not wash or dry glassware. This is important. However, used glasses may be neatly placed beside the sink. So I don't wash glasses. I don't serve drinks, so I don't touch glasses. When I first started doing this, I did like a wine dinner, and it was like a tapas style dinner. I think there was like 8 or 9 courses, and there was like 15 or 16 people there, I think, and they had different wines with every course. So it was an enormous amount of wine glasses. I was there till almost midnight washing them. The clients clearly wanted me out of the house. Plus, I have some pretty bad scars from washing glasses. So after that, I was just like, you know what? I don't deal with glasses anymore. It's never been an issue. The clients don't mind because I give them the expectation that I don't wash glasses. If I served drinks, I would probably wash the glasses, but I don't. Client interaction. Guests are welcome to engage with the chef throughout their evening, ask questions, take photos, or simply enjoy the experience, whatever makes your night more memorable. So again, I leave it up to the clients to determine the level of interaction. I don't take the initiative on that. I let them set the tone. Kitchen use and cleanliness. Please ensure the kitchen is tidy and reasonably clear of clutter before the chef's arrival. Chef Ben will clean all food. Again, this is just because of one client I had that I almost left. Chef Ben will clean all food prep areas, wash dishes, sanitize counters, and leave the kitchen cleaner than it was found within reason. Chef Ben is not responsible for deep cleaning, sweeping, or mopping, or the removal of any client-generated messes unrelated to the meal service. So, I'm not going to sweep or mop. I'm not going to deep clean their kitchen. I'm just going to clean, the surfaces that I touched and everything. And if they have a whole bunch of beer bottles and stuff from the event that I had nothing to do with, I'm not going to get rid of that mess. I'll tidy it up for them. I'll put it on the counter in an organized fashion, but I'm not going to take that with me. Menu selection and dietary requirements. Menu selections must be finalized at least 7 days before the event. I'm not super strict on this, but generally I ask this to be true. Any allergies or dietary restrictions must be communicated at the time of booking and confirmed during the pre-event check-in. I need to know of any allergies. It's super important because that's going to affect how I shop. It's going to affect how I plan everything. While all reasonable efforts will be made to accommodate dietary needs, it is the client's responsibility to ensure that any severe allergies are clearly communicated, of course. Secondary items listed on menus may be substituted, so this goes back to what I was saying before about substitutions, may be substituted without notice for a similar ingredient, i.e. the menu lists asparagus but none can be sourced, so green beans are used instead. Completely reasonable, but it's in there so the client can't come back to me and be like, you said the menu was going to be steak, potatoes, and asparagus, and it was steak, potatoes, and green beans. That's not what I ordered. And I can say, well, I couldn't get asparagus. It's listed on my. In terms of service, that I can do that. Changes and cancellations. Changes to guest count or menu must be confirmed a minimum of 7 days in advance unless express permission has been granted to change the guest count within the 7-day window. So really all this means is like I need to know how many people I'm cooking for. I need to plan everything. And by the express permission, really sometimes a client will contact me and be like, look, we don't know if it's going to be 12 or 14 people. We're still waiting on 2 people, so let us know. And I'll be like, yeah, no problem, just let me know. At least 3 days before the event so I can kind of finalize all my planning. If a guest is not present for your event where a plated meal is served, their portions will be packaged and put in the fridge and the meal will still be included in your invoice. So essentially, like if you told me 8 people were going to be there, I buy all the food for 8 people, I show up, and then while I'm there, you're like, oh, it's only 6 people. I'm not going to eat the cost of that food. I'm going to cook it, I'll wrap it, and put it in the fridge for you. It's not my responsibility to take on that cost. Deposits are non-refundable but may be transferred to a future date with a minimum of 14 days notice subject to availability. Pretty straightforward. I'm not always super strict on this. I generally am pretty lenient, but if somebody's being rude to me, at least I have this in here so I can be a stickler for the rules. Cancellations within 14 days of the event will forfeit the deposit. Again, I'm not super strict with this. Inclement weather or emergencies. I live on the east coast of Canada. In the winter especially, we get a lot of inclement weather. Sometimes I have to cancel events because of snowstorms. It happens. In the event of unsafe travel conditions or emergencies that prevent Chef Ben from attending your event, every effort will be made to reschedule. If an alternate date cannot be found, your deposit will be fully refunded. Pretty straightforward. If it's not the client's fault that the event's canceled, I'm not going to make them pay for it, obviously. Photography and social media. Clients are welcome to take photos during the event. If you share your images on social media, please tag me. Your support, helps a small business grow. And then it says, Chef Ben may occasionally take photos during the event for promotional use. These will be of the food only, and every effort will be made to ensure that no guests or identifiable areas of your home are included in any images used for marketing purposes. I don't want to take pictures of my client's home. I want to make sure that they feel comfortable knowing that I'm not going to publish pictures of their private area, like private home area. So I just put this in here. So if the client sees me taking pictures, they're at least assured that I'm just taking it of the food and not their client, their guests, or their home. Sometimes if a client asks to take a picture with me, and I'm like, I might ask them if I can put it on my website. There's a couple of those on my website, and they don't mind. But typically, I don't take pictures of clients. To me, that's just a little. I know some chefs do it, but it's just not what I like to do. Liability. Chef Ben is fully insured and follows all required food safety and sanitation practices. However, the client assumes responsibility for providing a safe and functional kitchen space, supervising children or pets in the cooking and dining areas. I'm not responsible for your kids or your pets. If they're in the kitchen, I'll obviously try and be careful, but they shouldn't be running around. And this happens more often than you think. If they get hurt, that's not on me. Chef Ben is not liable for any injuries, accidents, or damages resulting from unsafe home environments. Chef Ben is required to wear shoes at all times while cooking to comply with food safety standards. I put this in here because some clients don't like people wearing shoes in their house. I get it, but I'm going to wear shoes, period. Um, I'm just going to. It is a safety issue, but also it's a comfort issue. Final payment. Final payment is due the next business day after your event, usually the Monday after, unless otherwise arranged. Accepted payment methods include e-transfer, credit card, or cash. My promise to you, money back guarantee. Chef Ben is dedicated to ensuring your complete satisfaction with his services. If at any point during your event something isn't up to your standards, he is given the opportunity to make it right, but you won't have to pay for the event and your deposit will be fully refunded. So again, they have to give me the opportunity to make it right. Contact and communication. So it just lists my contact information. So that's my terms of service that gets attached to their deposit invoice. And again, it just kind of lays things out, gives them clear expectations of what they can expect from me and what I expect from them. So let's go over to the deposit confirmation email. So now they've already read the How It Works page. They've read the terms of service on the deposit confirmation, and they've paid their deposit. So this is what I send next, and this really just reiterates everything we've already gone through. And I need to make some adjustments in here to match the other stuff, but you'll see that it just kind of matches. So I also have it. So this email and the next email we're going to look at are automatically generated by Zapier when I send the deposit invoice. So sending a deposit invoice triggers an action in Zapier that puts 3 draft emails in my draft folder in my Gmail, populated with the client's name and some of the other information. It does a few other things, but those are the pertinent things right now. So the client's name is already filled in. I literally just have to hit send on this when they pay the deposit. So thank you for your deposit. Your booking is now confirmed. A quick note about your event. I'll provide all the food equipment needed to prepare and serve the food and everything else I'll need throughout the evening. You provide plates and cutlery. It's best to have the table preset with cutlery, napkins, etc. There's no need to set plates on the table as I will need them to serve the food. For family style meals, I changed this to say that they should set the plates on the table because I'm not plating the food, I'm bringing dishes to the table. I can set the table, but it may cause a delay in the start of dinner, and I need to say, and will incur an extra fee. A note about how the evening will flow on my end. I'll arrive at the appointed time for a few minutes before, 10 minutes before typically, unload and unpack my equipment and begin preparing the food. 5 minutes, so I said in the deposit, in terms of service, I said 10 minutes. I need to change this to 10 minutes. I'll inform you before your guests that dinner is almost ready and you can take your seats. I'll serve the meal and then clear the plates. While you and your guests enjoy your final course, I'll clean the kitchen and pack my equipment. I said final course here instead of the dessert because some people don't order dessert. Once you're all finished, I'll wrap any leftover food and put it in the fridge for you, and I will wash, dry, and put away the dishes except glasses. I do not wash glasses, but I'm happy to place them neatly beside the sink. Before leaving for the night, I'll clean the stovetop, counters, and sink, ideally leaving the kitchen cleaner than I found it. I'll leave with all my equipment and all my garbage generated throughout the evening. Throughout the evening, you and your guests are welcome to ask questions and interact with me as much or as little as you'd like. Again, I let them set the tone on that. And I'll send you a pre-event email a few days before your event to review all the details. If you have any questions or need to make any changes between now and then, please don't hesitate to email me. Thank you for business. I look forward to cooking for you. So this is kind of the last bit of information they have in this vein that kind of lays everything out. But at this point, they've seen the How It Works page, most likely. They've had the terms of service attached to the invoice, and now they've gotten this. So there's no way the client can come back to me and say, well, I had different expectations of how this was going to go. It's clearly laid out for them. So it just covers my ass, and really that's it. It just makes me feel comfortable knowing that the client is fully aware of everything and they'll be happy with how things go, right? Because they understand the process. And then they get one more email before their event. So it just says, hello, client name. Again, that'll be populated. I just want to send one last email to confirm all the details for your upcoming event. Please let me know if you see any errors in the information below or have any questions. And this just really lays out all the pertinent information. So their address, the date, arrival time, serving time, number of guests, allergies, and then their menu. That's it. This just covers me one last time to make sure that they have all the information they need. All right, so that's how I set kind of clear expectations for my clients of what I expect of them and what they can expect from me. And how I kind of operate without formal contracts. Because everything here they've agreed to by paying the deposit, and they send me a yes when I send that last email, just confirming all the details. So they can't come back to me and say that they thought they were getting this and they got that instead. They can't come back to me and said, I thought you were going to arrive at this time, but you arrived at this time. And they can't come back to me and say, I thought you were going to set the table and you didn't, because it's all there. Everything is laid out. Now, you don't have to have all these exact terms that I have. If you want to set the table, that's fine. That's just not how I operate. If you want to wash glasses, that's fine. Not how I operate. So build these elements based on how you run your business, but I highly recommend that you have these kind of client touch points so that they can understand exactly what to expect of you, what you expect of them, how the process will work, everything. And repeat it so that they can't say, well, I didn't see this one thing. It's like, well, you've had 3 opportunities to see it and you actually agreed by clicking yes or whatever. So that's my suggestion for you. That's what makes me the most comfortable. And again, make the terms suit your business, but make sure that you give the client just some information like this. And also, it just kind of makes you seem more professional than just some kind of random person showing up at their house. Having all this stuff gives your business a level of professionalism that a lot of other chefs don't have, and just helps you build your brand. So thank you. I'm Benjamin Kelly. I run Chef Business Training by Westaver. Westaver is my coaching business. And I just want to say thank you for making it all the way to this video. And if you want help building your chef business, give me a call or just fill out the form on the website. Again, that's chefbusinesstraining.com. Thank you so much. Have a great day.